Last night's episode of The View witnessed an extraordinary confrontation when Sylvester Stallone declared, "I'm done with this show," and walked off set after Sunny Hostin accused him of perpetuating toxic masculinity through decades of violent film roles that damaged American culture. The 77-year-old actor and filmmaker didn't just defend his career. He systematically exposed Sunny's hypocritical defense of actual violence in her legal career while attacking fictional portrayals. But what started as promotion for Stallone's new documentary about veteran rehabilitation would reveal disturbing information about how The View selectively condemns entertainment while ignoring real-world harm. The ABC studios were charged with unusual tension from the moment Stallone arrived. The legendary actor was there to discuss his documentary highlighting veterans using boxing therapy for PTSD, a deeply personal project inspired by his conversations with military families. But Sunny Hostin had prepared an aggressive prosecution of his entire filmography. A production assistant later revealed overhearing Sunny tell her team, "This meathead made millions glorifying violence. Time to hold him accountable for the damage he's caused." The preparation materials included edited montages of Stallone's most violent scenes stripped of context, statistics about violence in media, and quotes from academics criticizing action films. The other hosts seemed uncomfortable with the planned ambush, with Sarah Haynes specifically expressing concern about attacking someone raising money for veterans. Therefore, when cameras began rolling at 11:07 that morning, Stallone walked into what was essentially a trial for his entire career disguised as daytime television. The show opened with typical hot topics, but Sunny made several pointed comments about actors who've profited from violence and the responsibility artists have for societal harm. Whoopi tried to maintain neutrality, but the tension was palpable. Stallone waited backstage with characteristic stillness, his weathered face betraying no emotion as he watched the monitor. His publicist would later describe him as completely calm but intensely focused, like before a boxing match. When Whoopi finally announced, "Please welcome Sylvester Stallone," he walked out to thunderous applause from the audience, though Sunny's disapproving expression was obvious. He greeted each host politely, but when he reached Sunny, she barely acknowledged him. "Sylvester, you've made hundreds of millions playing violent characters. Rambo alone has a body count in the thousands. Don't you feel responsible for normalizing violence in America?" Sunny began immediately, her prosecutorial tone evident. Stallone studied her for a long moment. "Sunny, you defended actual criminals who committed real violence. I created fictional characters who examine violence. Which one of us has more blood on their hands?" he replied calmly. The studio went completely silent. Sunny's face tightened. "I was a federal prosecutor. I upheld justice," she said defensively. "You were a federal prosecutor who chose which violence to prosecute and which to ignore. That's not justice. That's selective enforcement," Stallone replied. Therefore, the reversal was immediate. Joy Behar tried to support Sunny. "Sly, your movies influenced generations of young men toward aggression," she said. "And Sunny's prosecutions put nonviolent drug offenders in violent prisons for decades, which caused more actual harm." Stallone asked. He leaned forward, his damaged face from decades of action scenes giving him an authentically intimidating presence. "You want to discuss Rambo? Let's discuss him properly. He's a veteran abandoned by his country, suffering from PTSD, trying to survive. That's not glorification. That's tragedy," he said. "But people see him as a hero," Sunny protested. "People see you as a hero too, despite you prosecuting minorities at disproportionate rates. Should we blame you for mass incarceration?" Stallone replied. The precision of the attack was devastating. Whoopi looked uncomfortable. Alyssa Farah Griffin seemed ready to intervene. But Stallone was just beginning his systematic destruction. "You know what's really offensive, Sunny? You sitting there judging fictional violence while your actual legal career destroyed real families. Every person you sent to prison had parents, children, spouses. That's real violence," he said. "I enforce the law," Sunny said weakly. "You enforce selective law. You chose which communities to target, which crimes to pursue. Don't pretend you were neutral. You were an architect of systemic violence," Stallone pressed. He stood up suddenly, his presence filling the studio despite his age. "You want to know the difference between us? My violence was fake and made people think. Your violence was real and destroyed lives," he said. "That's completely unfair," Sunny protested. "Is it? How many nonviolent offenders did you send to maximum security? How many plea deals did you coerce through threat of extreme sentences? That's actual violence, not Hollywood fantasy, Stallone replied. But then he revealed something that stunned everyone. Your former colleague at the DOJ contacted me, told me about the cases you refused to prosecute, police brutality you ignored, corporate crimes you buried. Should we discuss those? He asked. That's privileged information, Sunny said desperately. Not when whistleblowers expose corruption. You prosecuted the powerless while protecting the powerful. That's not justice. That's complicity, Stallone replied. He turned to the audience, commanding their complete attention. This woman sent people to hellish prisons for selling marijuana while ignoring Wall Street crimes that destroyed millions of lives. But my movies are the problem? He asked them directly. Several audience members began applauding. Others looked shocked by the revelations. But Stallone pressed forward relentlessly. Rocky inspired people to persevere. Rambo exposed how we abandon veterans. My films had messages. Your prosecutions had quotas. Which served society better? He asked. I served justice, Sunny insisted. You served statistics. Conviction rates, not justice. There's a difference between law and morality. You chose law every time, Stallone replied. He walked toward the exit, then stopped. I'm done with this show. But before I leave, let me tell you something about real violence versus fictional violence, he said. Fictional violence in films is cathartic. It lets people process aggression safely. Real violence in prisons, which you fed with your prosecutions, destroys actual humans. You can't see the difference because you've justified your harm as justice, he continued. You're oversimplifying, Sunny said desperately. Am I? Then explain why you prosecuted crack cocaine 100 times harsher than powder cocaine. Explain the racial disparity. Explain how that wasn't systemic violence, Stallone demanded. Sunny couldn't answer. The silence was damning. The audience could see her struggling to respond. But Stallone delivered another devastating blow. You know what veterans tell me about Rambo? That he helped them feel seen. That someone understood their trauma. You know what families tell you about your prosecutions? That you destroyed their lives for your career advancement, he said. That's cruel, Sunny said, her voice breaking. The audience gasped. Several people booed Sunny. The revelation that she'd tried to undermine veteran charity work was devastating. We were fact-checking, Sunny protested weakly. You were attempting to destroy fundraising for PTSD treatment because you hate me. You put your vendetta above veteran welfare. That's actual evil, Stallone replied. He looked directly at the camera. To every veteran watching, know this. Some people use your suffering for their agenda. They don't care about your healing, only their politics. Don't let them, he said. You're misrepresenting everything, Sunny claimed. I'm representing everything accurately for the first time on this show. You attack entertainment while ignoring actual harm. You claim moral high ground while standing on the bodies your prosecutions created, Stallone replied. As he reached the door, he turned back one final time. Oh, and Sunny, my new documentary has raised $12 million for veteran mental health. Your career sent how many veterans to prison for self-medicating their trauma? Who really supports the troops? He said. The destruction was complete. Sunny sat frozen while Stallone walked off to a standing ovation. The audience was entirely on his side. Even some of the other hosts were applauding. We need to go to commercial immediately, Whoopi said urgently. Within seconds, hashtag Stallone exposes Hostin was trending globally. The footage went viral instantly. Veterans organizations praised Stallone while condemning Sunny's attempt to undermine charity work. Former DOJ employees began confirming Stallone's claims. Stories emerged about Sunny's aggressive prosecutions, her targeting of minority communities, her protection of powerful interests. The revelation about sabotaging veteran charity was particularly damaging. Multiple veterans groups confirmed The View had contacted them with concerns about Stallone's documentary, attempting to discourage participation. Sunny attempted damage control the next day. Sylvester Stallone mischaracterized my legal career and our fact-checking process, she said unconvincingly. But the public wasn't buying it. Comments flooded in from families affected by her prosecutions. The human cost of her justice was being revealed in real time. Stallone released a powerful video statement. I was attacked for creating fictional violence that helped people process trauma. Meanwhile, my attacker created actual violence through prosecutions that destroyed families. The irony is staggering. The The statement resonated globally. Other actors began sharing their experiences of being attacked by people with far more harmful real-world records. ABC faced immediate backlash. Veterans groups organized boycotts. Sponsors supporting military causes pulled advertising. The network was forced to donate millions to veteran charities as damage control. Meanwhile, Stallone's documentary broke all streaming records. The controversy had actually amplified its message about veteran mental health. Donations poured in from supporters. The incident became known as the Stallone Reckoning, when fictional violence was revealed as less harmful than legal violence. Universities began teaching it in criminal justice courses. But the deeper impact was on discussions of prosecutorial accountability. Stallone had exposed how prosecutors who destroyed lives could later claim moral authority in media. The hypocrisy was undeniable. Sunny's legal career came under intense scrutiny. Bar associations reviewed her cases. Civil rights organizations investigated her prosecution patterns. The disparities were shocking. Several of her convictions were appealed based on new evidence of prosecutorial bias. Families she'd separated began organizing class action lawsuits. Her past was catching up. The View faced an existential crisis. Sunny's credibility was destroyed. Her ability to make moral judgments was laughably compromised. Calls for her resignation were overwhelming. Within a month, she took indefinite leave that everyone knew was permanent. Her career in television was over. Her legal career was under investigation. Her reputation was irreversibly damaged. Years later, Stallone's documentary would be credited with revolutionizing veteran mental health treatment. The funds raised created dozens of therapy centers using boxing and physical training for PTSD. At the Academy Awards, when the documentary won, Stallone said, "Sunny Hostin tried to destroy this project because she hated my movies. Veterans suffered for her vendetta. That's real violence, not entertainment." The empty chair Stallone left became symbolic of authentic charity versus performative judgment. His walk-off had exposed the difference between creating art about violence and creating actual violence through law. Film schools taught the incident as the Stallone principle, that those who condemn fictional harm often commit actual harm. It became a cornerstone case in media ethics studies. The contrast between Stallone's veteran advocacy and Sunny's veteran prosecutions became a textbook example of hypocrisy. One man portrayed violence to raise awareness. One woman used law to commit violence. And Sunny Hostin, who'd built a media career on moral superiority after a legal career of harsh prosecutions, was exposed as someone who caused more real harm than any action movie ever could. In the end, "I'm done with this show" became more than an exit line. It became a declaration that those who judge art while ignoring actual harm would no longer go unchallenged. The audience that day witnessed something unprecedented, an action star destroying a former prosecutor not with fists, but with facts, not with violence, but with truth about violence. Stallone had shown that fictional punches on screen hurt nobody, but real prosecutions destroyed families. That playing tough guys was harmless, but being a tough prosecutor was harmful. The man who'd played Rocky and Rambo had his greatest victory not in a ring or battlefield, but on a talk show, proving that real fighters fight for others, not against them. And Sunny Hostin, who'd attacked him for fictional violence, was revealed as someone who'd committed actual violence through law, destroyed real families through prosecution, and tried to sabotage veteran charity through spite. The Italian stallion had delivered his knockout punch not with his fists, but with his words, showing that sometimes the most powerful blow is simply revealing the truth about who really causes harm in society.